When the ink dried on the Treaty of Paris in 1783, the American Revolution ended. The common assumption is that the departure of the British fleet immediately secured the United States as an independent, safe nation. The borders drawn at the time outlined a massive stretch of territory spanning the eastern seaboard, creating a new country with vast physical scale but very little global power. By 1811, that independence was hanging by a thread. The young republic was caught in the crossfire of the two largest empires on Earth, France and Great Britain. We get a clear diagnosis of this crisis from a farewell letter written by Virginia Representative John Love. On March 4, 1811, he sent a dispatch to his constituents detailing the unvarnished state of the Union. Love's letter identifies a conflict fought through trade embargoes and bank charters. To him, the survival of the Republic depended on preventing a slide back into total economic and naval submission. Look at the British Orders in Council from 1806. England declared a blockade across 1,000 miles of the European coast, effectively walling off primary markets for American produce. France retaliated with its own decrees, meaning neutral American commerce was outlawed by both sides. The tension generated by these massive trade blockades inevitably spilled over into physical violence against American citizens trying to navigate the Atlantic. In 1807, the British warship Leopard fired on the American frigate Chesapeake. The British Navy systematically boarded neutral vessels and captured Americans by force, pressing them into British naval service. Representative Love and his colleagues retaliated with the Embargo Act. Since the United States lacked a navy capable of winning an open war, Congress opted for total commercial isolation as the least damaging alternative to submission, but the strategy was sabotaged from within. A domestic coalition of political rivals, British loyalists, and merchants seeking profit actively worked to bypass the law, ensuring that British supply lines kept flowing. With the embargo failing, Congress had to quickly abandon its reliance on trade restrictions. They funded durable brick fortifications along the coastline and stockpiled munitions for an attack. The collapse of the embargo proved that domestic trade laws and ink on paper were useless as a shield against aggressive physical empire building. While the coastline was being fortified, Representative Love was fighting a second invisible front operating right out of Philadelphia. This was the battle over the First Bank of the United States. Love viewed the institution as an unconstitutional central banking monopoly that held a dangerous amount of energy over the American community. This chart shows the central bank's ownership. The bank's books working over 70% of its shares were held by foreign interests. Because of this massive block, foreign powers possessed the leverage to manipulate markets and effectively fix the price of American agricultural labor. In response, Love led a fierce legislative crusade in the 11th Congress to permanently kill the bank's charter. He faced intense warnings that closing the bank would cause immediate mass bankruptcy across major American seaports. Love ignored the warnings, prioritizing absolute national security over temporary economic stability. Dissolving the bank was a calculated amputation. It was the only viable method to forcibly extract European influence from the heart of the American economy. In his 1811 letter, Love held on to one final diplomatic hope. Because France had agreed to lift its trade decrees, he speculated that Great Britain might be pressured to respect American neutrality. That hope dissolved almost immediately. Great Britain refused to yield, and the diplomatic maneuvers outlined in Love's dispatch completely collapsed. The Republic endured another 12 months of strangulation. Then, under the combined weight of the naval blockade abroad and financial warfare at home, the tension finally snapped. The collapse of peace dragged the young republic directly into the bloodshed of the War of 1812. By ending the bank's charter and refusing to submit to the British Navy, the nation prioritized its independence over its immediate stability. The young republic chose economic distress and open warfare over remaining a puppet to European powers.